Good afternoon, professors. Today, my name is Prince Ekong, and I'll be demonstrating how I deployed a Linux server for the PromisedLand.com. You can see the PromisedLand server is already created. The instance is already created in the AWS EC2. So this is the instance, and after creating the instance, a key pair was generated and a public IP address which I used to access the server. After accessing the server, I updated the server, upgraded it. Then I create the partitions. So you can see the first one was for operating system. According to the proposal I submitted, you can see 20 is the root directory, and the next one was 30 to be mounted in home, and then 40 disks. If you notice that they are all mounted here, see the 40 GB is shared, the mount is mounted on shade, and the other one is mounted, the 30 GB is mounted on home as instructed. So as in the proposal I submitted. So then the next one was the swap file. So to create the swap file, I use this command to create a swap file, and you also use command to mount it. As you can see, the swap file is here. So then I also created the group, the department, infrastructure department, using this command for operations for the infrastructure operations, applications, and CRM department. And now check to confirm if they are actually created, and you can see they are here. The four departments are here. Now I added users to the each of the department. So now created user Okun and added to the infrastructure department. The same thing with Prince for operations, Jerry for application, and Blessing for CRM. Then and I also created a password for them, or assigned a password for them using this command sudo password and the name of the user. Then after which I decided to confirm if they are all created. I can see the four of them are here. So the next thing was to assign, create the groups. Yes, create the shared folder. After creating the shared folder, I had to check if it has already been created for confirmation. You can see they are here using this command to list the folders that have been created on that sheet. Then the next thing I did was to assign ownership to each of the department. So like I said, Okun was in operation, infrastructure, Prince was in operation, Jerry was application, and Blessing was for CRM. Now if you notice that after doing that, I decided to check. I had to log in Okun, and it wouldn't start because Okun was not, I didn't remember to assign a password to him. So now change and use another user. That is wait, that is Springs. Alright, so I use Springs using this command. I switched to the user Prince, and I listed who am I, said Prince. So you can see this who am I is used to tell the user which user is being logged in currently. So Prince is doing login, and it's under operations. So you can see it into operations, and I created a file. You see the file that I created this here in the operation. So under shade. So this operation is the shade folder. It's in the shade folder. Now the next thing was to set permissions. So first of all, I need to download the control list. After that, after installing the control list, I now begin to assign the permissions. The next thing I did was to add to configure access for CIO carry shoemaker. So I first of all created the user carry shoemaker, assign a password to him, then announce configure access control and give him read-only access, so you can read all the content of all the files in the, you can see set, this is the command that I give to give me read-only access to infrastructure for operations, applications, and CRM. So this is the command. The this is the the access control that was assigned. So this one was assigned. Then the next thing was to install the firewall for the firewall settings. So after installing the firewall, as you can see, this is the command I used to install the firewall. Then after installing the firewall, I also allowed the firewall through SSH to be accessed via SSH. The next thing was to enable the firewall using this command. And after exiting, I have to be sure if the firewall is active. So I use this command to ensure if the check action is allowed from, so it's up and running. The next thing was to configure the message for the day, that is MOTD, using this command. So when I click nano, it's open and I write the message. So if you logged out and log in, the message will appear. So that is how I was able to complete the project. Thank you.